why do people try to write him off and say he'll never be a champion? Dude, if he makes a shit ton of money on his way to trying to be a UC champion, that's all that matters. This was a great fight. People thought that Paddy was just going to run through this guy and just do what he was going to do. And I'm like, listen, man, Jordan is a tough dude. I spar with this guy before. I've grappled with him, strictly grappling with him before. He is crafty, slick on the feet, and hard to hit. And something like that makes it a wild card for him to jump in there with a guy like Paddy, who's got all this hype for the right reasons. He's putting in the right work. And I think Paddy, as much fun as he likes to have, the guy is a serious person and a serious problem because he works so hard. So when you have that, you have the charisma, the guy has the work ethic, and he has the following in the fan base, and outspoken, just is him, unapologetically him.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's what's super cool about a guy like that. But I really thought Jordan was going to get it done just because of, man, I'm like, man, I think they're underestimating him. But Paddy came out there and actually did his homework. He weathered an early storm, and it was a fun fight.
I almost feel like I wanted to get your opinion on this, but the first round seemed to have people kind of split. I know you tweeted out that you thought Jordan won. I thought that Paddy stole it at the end because I felt like he did more damage in the round based on what he did at the end there. And you always, but I feel like it gets muddy when like the control time way outweighs the damage.
Yeah, that's what it was for me. I'm like, man, 4 minutes of control time versus like 4 punches that weren't really like, oh my God. If they were like, oh, I rocked you, I'm like, yo, you stole the round.
But didn't he kind of get dropped, Jordan?
I don't think so. Not that I remember. With what?
It was
what?
Like at the end of the round, he ended up on the ground somehow. I don't know if it was because of a punch or
it was a shot. I know he shot in, and I think Paddy tried to throw a knee. I think it was a knee. I would have to pull it up and look again. But I know the end of that first round, they ended up in a scramble, and Jordan was transitioning in again, and then Paddy ended up on top and kind of reversed him. And this was, mind you, this was the last like 35, maybe 40 seconds of the round.
Mm-hmm.
So not much happened in that transition, but it was a lot of scrambling, but not much like definitive, like, okay, this was an iconic moment in this round where it's like, okay, this stole the round, sealed it. I don't think that actually happened. At least with me.
My whole thing was just like, Paddy definitely did more damage in the round, even if most of it was condensed into like a small amount of time and it wasn't that much damage. That's why I feel like it's such a toss-up, because it was like how significant was the damage. But I was worried. I'm not worried, but I was getting conscious of like Paddy was holding that what was it, a guillotine?
Yeah.
For like a long ass time, and you could like see his back start to turn red. And I was like, oh, I feel like he's gonna get really tired. Like I feel like he's gonna fatigue. Too. That's why I was so impressed when he actually won the fight. Like,
well, even let's talk about that. I mean, what he did to win the fight, in my opinion, was when he had that unorthodox head and arm choke from behind. And I'll do that when I grapple. Like if I can't get the rear naked choke and you start doing this defense where you're like here and you're trying to protect your neck, I'll come under because I got these long ass dangly Betty spaghetti arms, and I'll go underneath across the head, right into the armpit, and I'll lock up head and arm choke type of lock to finish the choke.
Okay.
And I've submitted so many people in that position in the room. It's actually mind blowing because it's like you think that you can't get it, but eventually, slowly but surely, it sinks in, and then you're either passing out or you're tapping. You know, so.
Yeah. Wait, I thought it was a rear naked though. Am I wrong?
No, a rear naked would be like more like you slide behind and then you put it behind the head.
Okay.
This is kind of like a rear naked.
Because that's what Bruce Buffer said.
What
it was like via rear naked choke.
No, but he didn't submit him with that. Wait, no. Sorry, I'm thinking the transition of when he was on the back before, when he hit him with the knee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so when he hit him with the knee, that's like a head and arm, but it does turn into a little bit of a rear naked position, and then he landed that knee, and that made Jordan drop down, and then when he did that, he put the hooks in, and that's when he submitted him with the traditional rear naked choke. So yes, that is correct.
Okay.
But that knee beforehand, no one's thinking that they're going to get kneed in the face in that position. And I think that's what happened. It kind of caught Jordan Leavitt by surprise. And when he cracked him like that, man, it's hard to recover. It really is.
So when I saw that, when he threw the knee, I was like, that was there the whole, like, it almost was like a light bulb moment where I was like, oh, he could have thrown that like a while ago. I don't know. Like, it just seemed like obvious after he did it, but beforehand, it didn't seem like it was coming.
I don't know if it's that obvious. I mean, I feel like a lot of people are in that position all the time, and people don't go for that. I'm trying to find the submission right here.
Or I just mean like, oh, that was perfect. Like, it was there. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In that sense, yeah.
Yeah.
But you never see people get that creative. It's either they're doing jujitsu, or they're doing wrestling, or they're striking. You don't see a lot of people who blend both. Paddy was able to blend both in that situation, and in that sequence, that knee won him the fight. If he doesn't land that knee, Jordan just hangs out in that position, defends. Paddy's burning his arms out, and maybe we're in a similar round that we had in the first round. So I think him landing that spot and finding that kill shot, I think that hurt Jordan really bad. It rocked him a bit, and I think the shots you don't see and don't expect are the ones that really mess you up the most. And I think that's what happened. He got rocked, wasn't aware of what was going on, and then Jordan had his arm trapped. Oh my goodness, I forgot about that. His arm was trapped. And the fact that he was even able to defend for that long, I was like, that's impressive. But the fact that he was even able to end up in that position for Paddy, I was like, that's really impressive. So kudos to him, man. His jiu-jitsu is solid. I knew both would be solid, but it's just one of those things. Like, I just thought it was going to be a tough fight, and not one that he was just going to steamroll the guy, because it was a lopsided matchup in the grappling department. Both guys are very well versed. And I think Jordan showed that. He defended all the judo throws, which was nice, because I think he hit that throw on Kazula, Paddy, if I'm not mistaken.
He might have.
So it's when you're in that 50-50 position, and the guy will grab the outside elbow, or if you have double underhooks, they'll grab the whizzer and they'll grab the other side, and they'll step their leg to the outside and they'll reap the knee. Now, when you reap the knee, it puts you in a better position to break the posture and throw people on the head. You've seen this with RDA versus Khabib. Khabib hit a beautiful throw on RDA like this years ago. And I think Paddy hit a move like that. I think he hit that same move on Kazula, but he tried to do it on Jordan, but Jordan was hip to it and was able to defend it.
I do remember that. He they pointed it out that he was defending that really well.
Yeah, that's a hard. Merab hits me with that all the time.
Yeah, I have a video of it, I think.
With Merab doing it to me?
Well, you were practicing, but I think he just flipped you.
Yeah.
It was one that
he does it to me in sparring, though. That's when it's like,
Fuck, yeah. So the one thing I wanted to ask you to elaborate on is, like, it seemed like Paddy was able to get the fight to the ground a couple times without using wrestling at all. So, but I'm curious, like, he would throw up a guillotine and the guy and Jordan would fall. Like, his back was against the fence, he threw up a guillotine, wrapped his legs, and then Jordan fell. And then the fight was on the ground.
Well, Jordan didn't fall. Jordan went to the ground with him. And, there's a difference between, like, just falling. Like, Jordan defended the guillotine the correct way because Paddy jumped guard. So when someone jumps guard with a guillotine attempt, if you fall into their guard, they're in a dominant position where they could potentially choke you out. So for Jordan, being that he's an expert in grappling, he was able to get to the outside and pass Paddy's guard and get to a position where he was safe, where that choke was just like, I'm just holding on for no reason. Where now, if you're in that choke and you're holding on to the head and the guy passes to side control, Ovis St. Preux hit this like 3 different times at 3 different fights, maybe even 4. He locks his hands around the head and he'll go to a traditional Von Flue choke, which is now being dubbed the St. Preux choke, because you controlling the head. Now, just visualize this. I'm grabbing your head in a guillotine. You pass to my side. Now, my shoulder is now pushing into my own carotid because I'm holding your head. So my arm is like this. It's hiked up. So this carotid is already being compromised. As you pass the side control, you grab around my back and you lock your hands and you drive your shoulder into the other carotid and you have a submission choke and you could put somebody out like that. So Paddy was actually in trouble when Jordan passed that guard and was still holding on to his head. But then he let go and was able to escape and get back up and to create another scramble. And then Jordan went right back on the attack again, looking for the takedowns and pressing him against the cage. So it was kind of like a jockeying for position. It wasn't like Paddy took him down. You know, if anything, in wrestling, if you do that shit, that bullshit, and you jump to your butt, that's you give up points. You know.
Okay.
So
That's what I
and
was
I know
trying to get at.
what's
Like,
it?
is he gonna be able to get further and further without the wrestling? Because they said he does more judo, not much wrestling.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, he could. I mean, if he can force the action on the feet and get guys to tie up with him, he could probably hit a throw, or he could probably jump guard. Sometimes he'll jump guard against the cage looking for triangle chokes. Like he hit that one in Cage Warriors where the guy had him against a clinch. He tied up and just jumped over into a flying triangle, and he got the submission.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just one of those things. It's gonna work until it doesn't. So kudos to him for making it work. And I think he's just a tough dude because he's not afraid to go to the ground. And those are the most dangerous guys. The guys like a Charles Oliveira. I don't want to say Makachev, but Makachev, we haven't really seen him off of his back. But guys that are not afraid to pull guard or go to their back and fight like that, those guys are super dangerous because it makes them on the feet almost like I got to knock you out because I know if I go to the ground, it's probably going to be in your favor, and that's going to be more of a risk for me.
Yeah.
I just want to see the end of the first round. So 8 seconds left. Okay, yes. So I'm watching right now, 50 seconds left. Paddy's still in the cage. Jordan's pushing against him. Paddy lands a knee. Jordan does a foot stomp. Jordan lands across as Paddy runs to the center. They break apart. Jordan comes with a flying jumping switch kick and almost connects to Paddy's face. Now, Paddy tries to throw something back. Now, Paddy catches Jordan in a guillotine choke with 30 seconds left, and Jordan defends, and then Jordan gets hit with an elbow. That's 20 seconds left. And that's, yeah. So it's like, there's not much for me to go, you should definitely win this round based on damage because he didn't really land anything. It was just that one elbow. Okay, we've got 9 seconds left. He lands one hammer fist. It's kind of short. Another one behind the head a little bit. 3, 4, and buzzer. So and then he ends up in mount. So if that fight were to continue, if there was more time on that clock, that's a dangerous position to be in. So he lands in like a mounted position with 2 seconds left. And I think that's where people are saying, oh, but I'm like, but you can't say what could have happened. You got to say what actually happened. And in that fight, what actually happened in that round, I think Jordan just did more.
Okay. That makes sense.
That's what I think. And just watching that, it kind of gave me a refresher. Like that jumping, like it's almost like the Karate Kid crane shit. He did a jumping flying kick to Paddy's face that like hits him in the chest. And then Paddy throws something back, then catches him in the guillotine as Jordan shoots in. And then Jordan defends because it's a high elbow guillotine, kind of like what Blanchfield hit on that girl against the cage. Jordan recognizes it. He rolls to his back. And then from there, he takes one elbow, then he takes a couple other shots, which is like 4 that I counted, that landed. And you could be like, okay, that was some damage. But in terms of the course of a 5-minute round, I don't know if that outweighs everything that happened before that. That's the only thing I'm saying. So I get the argument, but I think based on the criteria that I would just give it to Jordan based on that.
Okay.
Like a 30-second sequence. I mean, you won 30 seconds of the fight in that round. I don't know.
I wonder what the judges scored it.
Would be interesting.
Yeah. I would bet that Paddy lost the round.
Yeah.
When you break it down like that. But you never know.
That's what I would think.
Yeah.
But we just don't know because there's no real criteria for the that the judges actually give us. Like, it's a thankless job.
No.
But
yeah.
If the judges would actually sit down with us at a conference and had like examples, and we could bring examples and we could pull it up and we could have a showcase and we could go, okay, we watched this 5 minutes. How are we interpreting this so that there's some type of blueprint for every single judge and for every single fighter? That is the way you advance the sport, in my personal opinion, because now we know, okay, this is what they're looking at and this is what they're scoring. And then we can have an educational thing and go back and forth. Well, and we can go, no, this is way more significant than that, because I've actually been in this position and I know what that feels like. And if you don't know what that feels like, you can't tell me that this is this if you don't know for certain and actually have had that happen to you. And I think that's where you have the conversation, and that's where we could kind of have a meeting of the minds and meet in the middle and advance the sport with the judging, and that we have more of a blueprint and kind of have a more of a base model. Like it will make it more black and white. When we're in the middle of the fight, we could go, okay, based on what I do know, this is what they're looking for. And if I do these things, and based on this round, I know this has happened. If I can change the tides and do these things, I can win the round or steal the round, kind of thing. And I think that's what's the most important thing about the judging, because we don't know. I don't know if the judge is going to give that round to Paddy or they're going to give it to Jordan. I have no idea. But based on my opinion, watching what I watch, I feel like in that situation, I would feel like if I'm Jordan, I would feel like I've won that round.
Yeah, you could definitely make a case, because it's not like Paddy was doing any damage in those positions really that Jordan had him in.
Yeah.
But you could, if let's say he was just like hammering his head or whatever, throwing a bunch of elbows in that position,
yeah,
he's doing more damage, then he's winning the position. So it's just super like, you can still win the position that doesn't look as good by doing more damage. So
that's what I think. And I think in that round, I think unbiasedly, I just feel like Jordan won just based on control time and implementing his game plan. Even though implementing a game plan doesn't mean shit unless you're winning the fight. And I thought he was winning the fight by pushing him against the cage, neutralizing Paddy throwing these small shots, and Jordan kind of answering it back with his own. I think that kind of answers it right there. So I think you have that neutral position, and then you have him controlling the fight for that long. I'm like, damn, bro, that's a long time to be like, if you were trying to escape because the cops were coming for you, or you did something bad and I captured you and pressed you against the cage, you ain't going nowhere, bro. You are stuck. You are under my control. I am winning. I am dominating this sequence right here. And for me, I thought he won that round.
Yeah,
but Paddy won the fight.
Yeah, he finished it. That's what he does.
I'm excited for him, man. I think the sky's the limit for this guy, and he's made some improvements, notably. And I think, obviously not against the striking department, but I think he's raw, he's tough, he's gritty, he's willing to eat a shot to go get the fight to where he wants it to be. And I think that's what makes him so dangerous. So I'm really excited to see what comes for him next. And also for Jordan. I mean, Jordan has nothing to hang his head about. And again, I think Paddy, the hype is real, and I'm looking forward to his next one.
I have one more question on this. So I look at people after his last fight, people were like, oh, Paddy's never going to be a champ. After this fight, maybe it looks a little more promising. I don't know if I would say that, but you look at like who's ahead of him in kind of his generation of this up and coming class of lightweights. Like, do you think he could ever beat Islam? Like, do you think it could ever get to that point?
Is the goal to beat Islam for him?
I don't know.
Does he ever actually have to fight Islam?
I don't know, because if Islam wins this next fight, which I don't think he will, but let's say he does, it seems like if he does win, he has kind of like a long, easy road ahead of him. That's how it appears. I'm not saying that's how it's going to be.
Yeah.
And that's what I think people think it's going to be. And so if Paddy, if he keeps winning, he's eventually going to get it to a title shot, and he might collide with Islam if Islam dominates for as long as people think he will.
Yeah. I mean, it's always possible, but when people kind of jump the queue and they kind of like rush, they go fast forward in like 2-3 years. I'm like, dude, relax. Let the guy make money. Like, not everyone's goal is to become a champion, even though Paddy's is. But I think we all do this for a couple of reasons. The fame or the popularity to catapult yourself into a different stratosphere, to do other things, other opportunities, to make money, to change your well-being for your own life and your family, and then to become a champion, people who are just the diehard competitors. So Paddy could be all those things in one, you know? So it's like, why do people try to write him off and say he'll never be a champion? Dude, if he makes a shit ton of money on his way to trying to be a UC champion, that's all that matters. Who gives a shit? If he becomes a household name trying to become a UC champion, who gives a shit? If he makes it, it's all about setting a goal and hopefully attaining that goal. And if you come short, aim for the stars, you land on the moon. That's what it's all about. And the last thing I want to say is his post-fight speech for Paddy the Baddy. Oh, Paddy the Baddy. Oh, Paddy. I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
I'm a fan. Yeah. He's exciting.
He is. But his post-fight speech, man, I thought that was very, very cool of him. Sincere. It felt like it was from the heart. Um, to have him be that in tune with one, his emotions, two, with what's going on in society, I think it speaks more volumes about the type of person that he is overall. And I thought that was really cool, man. And for him to talk about mental health of men, because let's be honest, man. I don't say victim. I am guilty of this, I should say,
Sure.
where I don't like to talk about my emotions. I don't really like to open up to people. I kind of just have that bravado where it's more so in my head. I just got to bite down, man up, pull my big boy pants up and just handle my business. And that's good and all, but sometimes that can get to you. It can weigh you down, put a lot of pressure on you. And I think that's what Paddy's more so addressing. Like, if the difference is between me going to your funeral the next week versus you having a conversation and being vulnerable, please reach out. Please talk to somebody. I would be there for you. Like, I completely understand that. And I 100% agree with him on that standpoint. So, man, kudos to him, because it's not talked about enough. And I'm more so one of those guys. I'll wait till I am so pent up emotionally that I just blow the fuck up on someone before expressing my emotions. Because if I express my emotions, I'm very direct, man. Like, if I feel something like a little uneasy and I don't want to talk about it because I don't like conflict. You know, I'm a very easygoing guy. Like, I let things slide. I let this slide. I feel like people should know what the right thing is off the bat, because this is just how I was raised. So when people kind of take advantage or they don't do the right thing, it kind of just grows and builds up, and then eventually I just explode, you know. And I'll say what I want to say, and it's super direct, and there's no mincing the words. I'm just saying how I feel, and it's not like I'm trying to intentionally hurt your feelings. I'm just telling you straight how it is, and that's just how I am, you know. But I've been working on that. But yeah, I think I don't know about you. You're 21 years old, so I don't know how much of that you've actually dealt with.
Sure.
But I know for me, with my dad and my upbringing with my family,
Yeah.
we were hardened to just like not have emotions, and to just like, if you had emotions, you were made fun of. Like, we weren't ever made to talk about things. It was just like, dude, you're being a bitch right now, you know. So kudos to him for bringing that up, because I thought that was a very strong talking point, and very courageous as him humbling himself and making himself small and vulnerable to the everyday person.
Yeah, for sure. And I like on a side note for that too, like I feel like as he's ascending into superstardom, I know that's not what this is about, but as he is kind of climbing that ladder, I feel like moments like those really like kind of they can almost change your trajectory. Like those things
It resonates.
really help you
resonates
relate
a
with the
lot.
fans. And as he like after a win, for him to come like that happened a few days ago. He won the fight. Then he had that moment. He walks off the octagon crying, and he's crying in his post-fight interview. Like people really resonate with that, and I think that's only gonna the fact that happened is gonna make more people relate to him, and it's gonna make him into an even bigger superstar. And I'm not saying that's what his intent was, but I think it's an interesting point in his career.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
People like honesty. People like real. People like things that they can relate to. I honestly feel like that's why people like me. And because I mean, I don't think I do anything different or super special compared to anybody else, you know, but
It's why people like you and why they don't like you at the same
yeah.
time.
Yeah. Cause I mean, I think when you're yourself and you're honest, and, you know, people either love it, respect it, or they don't like it at all, you know? So,
Yeah.
shout out to Paddy, man. I think he's a real one. I've hung out with him a little bit, and it was a little bit of tension because I know Favola has been calling him out nonstop, and you know, they're in the same weight class. So shout out to Favola for wanting to take that fight. That's, you know, he wants an opportunity to take out the Paddy the Baddy, and there's nothing wrong with that. This is the type of game that we're in. Like, sometimes I'm going to be cordial or friendly with people that are going to fight my friends and training partners. And I have to know when to cut it off and still be respectful. I'm not going to like, oh, you're dead to me. I'm not. It's not like that. But at the same time, it's like, yo, we'll see you on the other side of the war. When this is over, then we'll hang out on the other line, you know?
Yeah.
And that's just what it's about. So cool dude, him, Molly McCann. And speaking of that,
Yeah.
let's get into some of the other ones.